Dr. Kim Hyewoo's hands moved carefully over the dusty object. The blue light of 3 suns filtered through the tent opening. For 3 months, her team had searched these ruins on planet GX-429. They had found broken pottery and strange metal pieces, but nothing important. Until today. The object felt warm under her fingertips. It was about the size of an apple but much heavier. Its surface was smooth in some places, textured in others, with lines that seemed to move when she wasn't looking directly at them. "Professor Park, please come see this," she called, trying to keep her voice steady. Heavy footsteps approached. Professor Park Do-yeon, head of their research mission, ducked into the tent. His weathered face showed months of disappointment, but his eyes lit up when he saw what Hyewoo held. "Where did you find it?" he asked, adjusting his glasses as he knelt beside her. Section F7, buried under what looks like an altar stone. Hyewoo turned the object carefully. The scanner shows it's made of unknown elements. Professor Park took out his own scanner and frowned at the readings. "That's impossible. Every element in the universe is in our database." "Apparently not," Hyewoo said quietly. Professor Park reached for the object, but Hyewoo pulled it back slightly. "I'd like to study it first, if that's okay." He nodded slowly. "Document everything. I'll inform base camp we found something significant." After he left, Hyewoo placed the object on her examination table. The patterns on its surface seemed to pulse with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. She took pictures, measured its dimensions, and tested its weight minus 312 grams, much heavier than its size suggested possible. Evening came. The research camp grew quiet as most team members returned to the main base. Hyewoo stayed in her tent, still examining the object. She connected it to the energy scanner and spoke notes into her recorder. "Object appears dormant but contains significant energy readings. Material unknown. Pattern configuration suggests artificial design rather than natural formation. Estimated age." She paused, looking at the readings. "That can't be right. Scanner suggests it's over 11 million years old." As she spoke, the object began to vibrate. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but then it moved slightly on the table. Startled, Hyewoo dropped her recorder. The device fell onto the table, knocking the object to the floor. "No," she gasped, diving to catch it. Too late. The object hit the ground, but didn't break. Instead, it began to glow with bright blue light. Hyewoo stepped back as a beam shot upward from the object, reaching the top of her tent. The light formed a shape, a figure about 7 feet tall. It looked mostly human-like but wrong in subtle ways. Its eyes were too large, its fingers too long. Its features shifted slightly, as if unable to decide on a final form. "I am Taejo," the figure said. Its voice was neither male nor female, deep yet musical, and perfectly clear in universal standard, the common language of Earth's colonies. Hyewoo froze. The figure wasn't a recording. It moved its eyes to look directly at her. You speak our language," she finally managed to ask. The figure tilted its head. "I speak all languages. I have awaited contact for 11 million cycles." Hyewoo's scientific training kicked in. She reached slowly for her recorder, never taking her eyes off the figure. "What are you?" "A computer program." "And I?" The figure made a sound like gentle laughter. "Your kind lacks words for what I am. In your stories, you might call me a god." "We don't believe in gods," Hyewoo said automatically. "Yet here I stand," Taejo replied. "Though God is not accurate. I am simply older. My kind was exploring stars when your ancestors were single cells in ancient seas." Hyewoo's mind raced. First contact. After 2 centuries of space exploration, humans had found ruins and remains of extinct civilizations, but never met a living alien intelligence. "Are there others like you?" she asked. "Few remain," Taejo said. Its form flickered slightly. "Most have gone beyond this reality. I stay to watch, to wait." "For what?" For a species worth talking to, the figure studied her. You have questions, many questions. This pleases me. Questions are how you grow. Juwoo's hand found her emergency beacon. One press would alert the entire research base. She should call for help, report this discovery. Yet something stopped her. A feeling that this moment was precious and private, that bringing others might end it too soon. Why did you choose to speak to me? She asked instead. The figure's light pulsed gently. You touched my vessel with curiosity, not greed. You examined without dissecting. Rare qualities, in my experience. Juwoo took a deep breath. Will you answer my questions? Some, said Taijo. Others you must answer yourselves. That is how it has always been. By morning, word of Juwoo's discovery had reached every corner of the research base. She had reluctantly reported her encounter after Taijo vanished back into the artifact 3 hours later. Researchers crowded around her tent, asking endless questions she couldn't fully answer. Professor Park called an emergency meeting in the main dome. Let's remain calm, he said, though his shaking hands betrayed his own excitement. We followed first contact protocols. Earth Central has been notified. 1 week later, the quiet research outpost had transformed. 4 transport ships landed, bringing military personnel, diplomats, and specialized scientists. The artifact was moved to a secure facility built in just 3 days by robotic constructors. Juwoo watched with growing concern as high fences went up around the new building. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Her simple discovery had become something else entirely. Commander Lee Hyunwoo arrived on the last transport. Tall and stern-faced, he gathered all personnel in the command center. This situation represents humanity's first contact with what we classify as a Class IV civilization, he explained. For reference, humanity is currently Class II. This entity possesses technology and abilities far beyond our understanding. We will proceed with extreme caution. He pointed to a holographic display showing security protocols. The artifact will remain in containment. All communications with the entity will be recorded. No one speaks with it alone. Juwoo raised her hand. Commander, Taijo has only appeared when I'm present. It may not respond to others. Commander Lee frowned. Dr. Kim, you'll assist our team, but under strict supervision. Despite these restrictions, Juwoo continued her conversations with Taijo. The military installed cameras and sensors throughout the room where the artifact was kept. 6 scientists and 2 security officers observed each session from behind one-way glass. During their second formal meeting, Taijo explained more about its nature. My kind existed as physical beings once, like you, it said. But that was billions of your years ago. We learned to transfer our consciousness into energy forms. Are you immortal? Juwoo asked. Not immortal, just very patient, Taijo replied. Its form shimmered slightly. Time moves differently when you're not bound by flesh. By their 4th session, Juwoo felt more comfortable. The military presence still bothered her, but Taijo seemed unbothered by the cameras and observers. Why have you remained hidden in this artifact? She asked. If your kind has such advanced technology, why not announce yourselves to the galaxy? Taijo's form shifted, colors flowing through it like northern lights. We observe, we study, we seek those worthy of dialogue. And you think humans are worthy? You interest us. Your species contains profound contradictions, capable of both great compassion and terrible destruction. You create beautiful art while poisoning your own planet. You reach for stars while fighting over land. Commander Lee entered the room, something he rarely did during sessions. The United Nations Security Council requests direct communication with you, he said to Taijo. Earth's leaders wish to establish formal diplomatic relations. Taijo turned toward him. I understand your protocols. However, I have a different request. The commander looked surprised. What request? I wish to speak with ordinary humans, artists, farmers, teachers, children. Your leaders represent power and policy. I seek to understand humanity's heart. Commander Lee frowned. That's highly irregular. Security concerns. I pose no threat. Tejo interrupted. I have existed for eons without harming your kind. We can't just invite random civilians to a classified facility, the commander argued. Jiwoo stepped forward. What if we set up video calls? People could speak with Tejo remotely. For 3 days, the commander consulted with Earth authorities. Eventually, they agreed to a compromise. Selected individuals from diverse backgrounds would be permitted to speak with Tejo through secure video connections. The first conversation was with Han Minseo, a farmer from rural Korea. The elderly man stared wide-eyed at Tejo's form on his screen. I never believed in aliens, he said simply. Now I'm talking to one. Tell me about your life, Tejo requested. Minseo spoke about tending his rice fields, the changing seasons, his grandchildren. Simple things, but Tejo listened with complete attention. Next came Choi Yuma, a 12-year-old student. Unlike the adults, she showed no fear. Can you do magic? She asked immediately. Tejo's form brightened. What humans call magic is often just science you don't understand yet. To demonstrate, it created a small galaxy of light that spun above the artifact. Yuna clapped in delight. Over the following weeks, Tejo spoke with dozens of people, a poet, a factory worker, a nurse, a fisherman. Each conversation revealed something new about humanity. After one session, Jiwoo asked, "What have you learned from these talks?" That humans are at your best when allowed to be individuals, Tejo answered. Your leaders speak of humanity as one thing, but you are beautifully, wonderfully varied. Commander Lee, watching nearby, shook his head. I still don't understand what it wants from us. Maybe just conversation, Jiwoo suggested. Maybe beings that old get lonely too. The military base buzzed with activity as another transport ship landed. More scientists arrived daily, each team hoping to learn something from Tejo. During the past weeks, the alien entity had shared valuable knowledge with humanity. It taught them about a plant on their own planet that could cure 3 deadly diseases. It showed them a new way to convert sunlight into energy that was 5 times better than their best solar panels. It discussed ideas about the mind and universe that made even the smartest philosophers think in new ways. But Tejo never answered certain questions. How do your people travel between stars so quickly? Asked Dr. Han from the space agency. That knowledge is not suitable for your current development stage, Tejo replied. What about your defense systems? How do you protect yourselves? Asked General Kang. My kind has no need for weapons, Tejo said simply. Each refusal made some people angry, especially those in power. They felt Tejo was treating humans like children. Late one evening, Director Song Minna arrived from Earth. Her black uniform had no markings, but everyone knew she led Earth Central Intelligence. She requested a private meeting with Commander Lee in the most secure room on the base. This entity is withholding crucial information, she said once they were alone. Her voice was cold and sharp. We've spent billions on this research station. And what do we have? Farming tips and philosophy lessons. Commander Lee looked uncomfortable. Director Song, Tejo has given us medical cures that will save millions of lives. People will always get sick and die, she interrupted. But humanity faces bigger threats. The Centauri colonies are growing stronger. Mars talks about independence. We need technological advantages to maintain Earth's position. Tejo refuses to discuss advanced technology. Director Song's thin smile didn't reach her eyes. Then we stop asking politely. The science team believes they can disassemble the artifact, study its components, and extract data directly. That would destroy our relationship with Tejo. Commander Lee protested. We don't need a relationship once we have its knowledge. Director Song stood. Prepare the artifact for transport to Earth. The order comes directly from the Security Council. Jiwoo was working late in her lab when Professor Park entered. His face looked gray and tired. They're taking the artifact tomorrow, he said quietly. Special forces will transport it to Earth for intensive study. Ju put down her tablet. What does that mean? They plan to take it apart. Director Song believes they can extract information directly from its components. This is madness, Ju insisted, standing up so quickly her chair fell over. We're dealing with technology billions of years beyond our understanding. Taking it apart would be like cavemen dismantling a quantum computer to see how it works. Professor Park nodded sadly. I agree, but the orders come from the highest level. They'll move it at 600 hours. After he left, Ju paced her lab. She had grown to respect Taizhou over their many conversations. The thought of scientists cutting into the artifact, essentially killing the entity, made her sick. She made her decision quickly. That night, she used her research clearance to enter the secure room where the artifact was kept. The guards knew her well enough not to question her late visit. Taizhou, she whispered once the door closed behind her. I need to speak with you. The artifact glowed, and Taizhou's form appeared. You are troubled, Dr. Kim Ju. They plan to take you to Earth tomorrow. They want to disassemble the artifact to study it. Ju expected alarm, maybe even fear, but Taizhou's form simply shifted colors slowly, like it was considering the information. I am aware of their intentions, it said finally. You know, but you've done nothing to stop them. This has happened before, with many species, Taizhou replied. Its voice remained calm. Your reaction to knowledge determines your readiness for it. This artifact is both messenger and test. Ju blinked in confusion. Test. You're testing us. All advanced civilizations face similar crossroads. How they respond shapes their future. But they'll destroy you. This vessel can be destroyed. I cannot. Taizhou's form grew brighter. 47 civilizations have encountered my kind throughout this galaxy. 39 destroyed themselves shortly after. A cold feeling spread through Ju's chest. Destroyed themselves. Yes, not by our hand, by their own choices. What happened to them? Some tore the artifact apart, releasing energies they couldn't control. Others used the few technologies they could understand to create weapons. Some simply fought among themselves for control of the knowledge. Ju sat heavily in the nearby chair. And the 8 that didn't destroy themselves. They passed the test, Taizhou said. They chose understanding over power, patience over immediate gain. They joined the greater community of minds. And what will happen to us? Ju asked quietly. That, Taizhou replied, is entirely up to humanity. Outside, Ju heard boots in the hallway. The guards were changing shifts. Morning would come soon, and with it, the transport team. What should I do? She whispered. What do you believe is right? Taizhou asked. For the first time since their meeting, Ju felt the true weight of this encounter. This wasn't just about first contact. It was about humanity's future among the stars. Morning arrived with tension hanging in the air. Ju had barely slept. She arrived at the research center to find armed soldiers outside the artifact room. Inside, scientists prepared special containers for transport. Professor Park stood with 3 other senior researchers, watching the preparations with worried faces. Commander Lee and Director Song observed from the corner, speaking quietly. Stop this, Ju pleaded with Professor Park. We're making a terrible mistake. It's not our decision, he replied sadly. Earth authorities have been arguing all night about who gets jurisdiction over the artifact once it arrives. As they spoke, the artifact began to glow. Without anyone activating it, Taizhou's form appeared in the center of the room. Everyone froze. Before you proceed with your plans, Taizhou said, its voice stronger than usual, there are truths you should know. Director Song stepped forward. Secure the artifact. She ordered the soldiers. Please wait, Professor Park said. Let's hear what it has to say. Taizhou's form grew brighter. Your planet has hosted 4 intelligent civilizations. You are merely the most recent. The room fell silent. Researcher Kang Juno, a paleontologist, laughed nervously. Impossible, he said. We would have found evidence, fossils, ruins, something. Time erases much, Tejo replied. 3 billion years is sufficient to turn mountains to dust and oceans to desert. But your ancestors' DNA carries our influence. What do you mean? Asked Juwu. We enhanced early hominids' capacity for abstract thought and empathy. We helped shape what you would become. Professor Park stepped back, horrified. You engineered us, made us into what you wanted. Not as servants, Tejo clarified. Its form shifted, showing images of early humans learning to use tools, make fire, create art. As potential equals, the universe requires diversity of thought. Your unique perspectives perceive patterns we cannot. Director Song had heard enough. She nodded to the soldiers. Take the artifact now. 2 soldiers moved forward with a containment box. As they approached, the artifact began to pulse with light. The soldiers hesitated. I recommend caution, Tejo said. 47 civilizations before you have faced this moment. 39 chose poorly. This is Earth's property now, Director Song stated firmly. Soldiers, continue. As the first soldier touched the artifact, it released a brilliant flash of light. Everyone covered their eyes. When they could see again, Tejo's form had grown to fill the entire room. I had hoped for better, the entity said. Now all will judge. Every screen in the room activated simultaneously. Computers, tablets, phones. They all showed the same thing. Scenes from Tejo's conversations. Not just the official interviews, but every private word. What's happening? Commander Lee demanded. One of the technicians checked her tablet with wide eyes. Sir, this signal. It's broadcasting everywhere. Every device on Earth is receiving it. The artifact had activated a defensive protocol. It was sharing every conversation, every revelation, every warning Tejo had given, to every human on the planet simultaneously. People across Earth stopped in streets and homes, watching their devices in shock. They learned about ancient civilizations that had existed before humans. They heard Tejo explain how its kind had gently guided early human development. They witnessed Director Song's plans to dismantle the artifact for weapons technology. Most importantly, they learned humanity's place in the universe, not alone, not supreme, but one of many species finding their way among the stars. In the artifact room, Director Song tried desperately to stop the broadcast. Shut it down, she ordered. Cut all communications. It's not coming from our systems, a technician explained. The signal is everywhere at once. Tejo's form turned to Juwu. Your kind must decide their path. Not just your leaders, not just your soldiers, all of you. For 3 hours, the broadcast continued. In that time, governments scrambled to respond. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Religious leaders called for calm. Ordinary people filled public spaces, discussing what they'd heard. When the broadcast finally ended, the artifact room was silent. Tejo's form had returned to its normal size. What happens now? Commander Lee asked, his earlier confidence gone. Now, Tejo replied, we wait for humanity's response. Outside the research facility, transport ships landed. Not military vessels, but news crews, diplomatic shuttles, and representatives from every major Earth nation and colony. They're all coming here, Professor Park said, watching the monitors. The whole world knows. Juwu looked at the artifact, now sitting peacefully on its pedestal. Was this your plan all along? She asked quietly. Not a plan, Tejo corrected. An opportunity. Some species use it wisely, others squander it. Director Song stood by the window, watching her carefully constructed secrecy crumble as more ships landed. You've created chaos, she said bitterly to Tejo. No, the entity replied. I've created clarity. How you respond to truth reveals who you truly are. 2 weeks after Tejo's worldwide broadcast, chaos ruled. Stock markets crashed, then recovered. Religious gatherings swelled. Some people celebrated in streets while others built bunkers. On the sixth day, the United Nations called an emergency session. It quickly turned ugly. "The artifact belongs to humanity, not any single nation," said one representative. "It was found by our research team on our funded mission," countered another. "Its technology could solve the energy crisis, or create weapons that could destroy us all." Behind closed doors, military leaders from 7 nations formed a plan. If they couldn't agree who would control the artifact, they would take it by force. Juwu watched these developments from the research base with growing horror. Professor Park had been called to Earth to testify before scientific panels. Commander Lee received new orders daily, each contradicting the last. "They're going to start a war over this," she told Taijo during what might be their final conversation. "It would not be the first time," the entity replied. "Knowledge often divides before it unites." On the 15th day, satellite images showed 3 different military forces approaching the research base. Each claimed to be the legitimate authority sent to secure the artifact. The base staff gathered in the main room, watching news feeds with scared faces. A reporter stood outside the United Nations building. Sources confirmed that special forces from multiple nations are converging on the research facility. Each claims proper authority. Military analysts fear an armed confrontation is imminent. Commander Lee entered the room, his uniform crisp despite the chaos. "Evacuation ships will arrive in 2 hours. All non-essential personnel must leave." "What about the artifact?" asked Juwu. "It will be secured and transported to Earth." "By which country?" Commander Lee didn't answer. His silence told her everything. The next morning, as transport ships appeared on the horizon, Juwu made her decision. She used her access code to enter the artifact room one last time. Global news networks were broadcasting live as troops approached the base. The whole world was watching. Taijo appeared as soon as she entered. "You have made a choice," it observed. "Not just for me," Juwu said. She looked directly at the camera in the corner, knowing her actions were being recorded. "For all of us." She picked up the artifact, feeling its familiar weight. For a moment, she remembered finding it in the ruins, how simple things had been then. The door burst open. Commander Lee entered with 4 soldiers. "Dr. Kim, put down the artifact immediately." "I'm sorry," she said. Then, before anyone could stop her, she slammed the artifact against the metal table. It shattered with a sound like breaking glass. Fragments scattered across the floor, no longer glowing, just ordinary stone and metal. "What have you done?" Commander Lee shouted, rushing forward. Everyone froze as light filled the room. Taijo's form appeared, larger and clearer than ever before, without the artifact. The physical object was merely a focus point, the entity explained, its voice everywhere at once. "The connection exists within human consciousness itself." Commander Lee stared in disbelief. "That's impossible." "Many things seem impossible until they happen," Taijo replied. Juwu stepped forward. "What happens now?" "Now, you choose," Taijo said. "Your species stands at a crossroads. You may remain isolated until you mature naturally, or accept guidance as you take your first steps into the greater community." "Who makes this choice?" asked Commander Lee. "Our leaders cannot even agree who should speak for Earth." "Perhaps that is your answer," Taijo suggested. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented happened. Rather than governments deciding humanity's path, ordinary people worldwide began talking about their cosmic future. Artists created paintings and songs about possible paths forward. Scientists shared research openly instead of keeping secrets. Teachers helped children understand what it meant to be part of a larger universe. Social networks created places where anyone could share their thoughts about humanity's choice. Groups formed to discuss what questions to ask Taijo when it returned. 3 months passed. Taijo had said it would return for humanity's answer, but hadn't specified when or how. Then one morning, every screen on Earth lit up with the now familiar glow. Taijo had returned. "Have you reached a decision?" it asked. Instead of presidents or generals answering, something amazing happened. Billions of individual human voices spoke together, each in their own way but conveying a shared message that had emerged from countless conversations. "We choose to learn," was humanity's simple answer. "But we will find our own way among the stars." Tejo's form seemed to smile, something it had never done before. "And that," the ancient being said, "is precisely why your kind fascinates even gods." In her small apartment on Earth, Juwu watched the broadcast and smiled. The broken pieces of the artifact sat on her desk, now just ordinary stone. But humanity's journey had just begun. The end.